Hey, welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, John, the Big Tex Johnson, a.k.a. Uncle Tex, a.k.a. Professor Tex. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. Subscribe to the page, share with a friend. And like I said, if you jokers want to sit up there and go back and forth, we can do that. Keep it respectful. And, it's just football. And we go from there, man, and we can have a good time. Listen, you sit up there and see the title and whatnot with Matthew Stafford. You're a Texas kid, so I'm always going to have a thing about Texas kids. Any Texas kids, whatever position they play, especially if it's quarterback, to see, if they go to the next level and be Hall of Famers and all this other kind of stuff. Matthew Stafford right now, if we look at it, he's 8-2, 2,557 yards, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's having an MVP type year, something he's never really had in his career, especially with his first over 12 years with Detroit. And this is the thing. This is the thing that I think everybody needs to put into consideration and whatnot when we're dealing with Matthew Stafford. A fine quarterback from out of Georgia, originally from out of Texas. He is doing a phenomenal job. He's already won one Super Bowl. Everybody remembers when he left Detroit and he ends up winning a Super Bowl, and that of the Rams, and then Detroit saying what they're saying and stuff like that, which was funny as hell to me. But but this is what we need to do before we do all this. It should be a criteria. And I think it depends on the voters of the Hall of Fame. It's a criteria that you need to meet to be that of a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, being you have first ballot Hall of Famer, second ballot Hall of Famer, third ballot Hall of Famer, and then you got the old folks committee and shit like that. They don't have that in baseball. Either you was the shit or you wasn't. Let's go back and retrace Stafford's career. Okay, Stafford, at this particular time, if we go back over here and we look, like Stafford, 115, this is before going into that week 10, 11, whatever week it was. He's 116 and 115 now. He's a game over 500. If we go back and look at his first, he's played 17 years. 12 years with that of Detroit, 74, 90, and 1. He's put up some impressive numbers, threw the ball a lot, completed some passes and stuff like that. Possibly had, 1, 2. Let's just do the playoff thing. 5-5, 6 years in playoffs. Detroit 1. He was 0-3 with Detroit and whatnot. Stafford put up some impressive numbers for those, because of the passing era that we are in right now. So I'll give him that and everything. But at the end of the day, with Stafford, if he wins another Super Bowl, right? If he wins say he wins a Super Bowl this year, right? Then this is what we're going to have to do. Then we're going to have to go to this guy. Because they literally had the same career. This is Eli Manning. And I've told y'all, and I've talked about this for Eli Manning because of he slayed the dragon and he has the last name. 117. Now he played 16 years, long time. Matthew is at his 17th year. Now, if we go into deepness, so with that of Manning, 57,023 yards and 366 touchdowns, 244 picks. We go right now to Stafford. If we go there, Detroit. So right now where he's at, is 62,366 yards, 404 touchdowns, 190 picks. Go back to Eli, 57,000. Matthew, 62. Threw for a lot more yards. He did have Megatron with him. Eli had Odell at the end of the part of his career. Matthew has put up extremely nice numbers as a quarterback in this particular era where they throw the ball 40 some odd times a game. He basically has the numbers as far as that goes. He wins another Super Bowl, I say, then, okay, you got to put him in. Just like Eli's got to be put in because of he slayed the dragon twice. That's Brady, Belichick. He slayed him twice. So you got to give that. But this is the thing as well. That's between those two guys there. Let's go to a quarterback who didn't slay the dragon, who didn't have what some of these guys had, but put up crazy numbers at his time and when he played. And let's go back to the great Dan Fouts, which was my top between him, Dan Marino. Those are my favorite quarterbacks as a kid coming up. Love those NBC games, AFC games. Now, you go here to that of Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts at 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 years in a row. Not only that, they won the AFC, I think Central, whatever it was called at that particular time. 3 times, went to 2 AFC championship games. They should have at least won one, but their defense was never that. Louis Kelcher, Woodrow Lowe, that's about all they basically had. And my man put up crazy numbers. And for that time period, you think about it, the numbers that he put up at that time, where you can sit back and take a wide receiver, and throw him up in the fucking stands and whatnot, that was crazy. Throwing for almost 5,000 yards at that particular time and period. And then Dan Marino would come along and do what he did. We saw what Eli Manning's stuff was. You go to somebody like that, Patrick Mahomes, which everybody is trying to put him out the pasture. This man has won 3 Super Bowls. 3. He's won 5 AFC championship games. He's thrown for 5. He's led the league. He's led the league. He's done everything you asked him to do. Social media is a fucking mess at the end of the day. But this is kind of going back to Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford wins another Super Bowl, I would be inclined to say second or third ballot Hall of Famer. Even though I say at a time when it's like, okay, well, if he's done that, right, then what you need to do, it needs to be a criteria for quarterbacks. See, that's why the MLB, Major League Baseball, those guys, you might have 1 guy, maybe 2 guys, maybe 3, no more than that, gets into the Hall of Fame. You see what I'm saying? Because the level of it should be guys like that of Johnny Unitas. And then later on, down the line, a Terry Bradshaw, and later down the line, a Joe Montana, and then that of somebody like a Tom Brady, which that's an anomaly within itself. We keep going. Because social media has done this basically to us. We'll look at somebody, Patrick Mahomes, well, he da-da-da-da. He needs, people are literally throwing coals on this. Look at this, what this guy's done. 6 Pro Bowls. Now, this is 7 years of starting, but this is what social media does. 2 All-Pros, 3 All-Pro teams, second team, 2 times first team, 2-time MVP, 1-time Offensive Player of the Year, 3 Super Bowl wins of the Grim Reaper. We have a problem with that? Now, I've said, because, again, go back to Matthew Stafford. In his first couple of so years, his first 12 years, he was 74-90 and won. This is why when y'all start talking shit about Russell Wilson did nothing but win for the first decade and 2 or 3 years in his career. But now you want to judge him at the age where they start to decline. That's not fair. It's not fair. Okay? So, Matthew Stafford, he wins another one. He's basically in the same conversation as that of Eli Manning. Same conversation. You have to give him that. Eli Manning will go into the Hall of Fame. Not the first ballot. I didn't think he was going to be in the first ballot. No. Like I said, name and then slay the dragon. Second ballot, no later than the third ballot. If Matthew Stafford wins another one, 2 Super Bowls, well, he has to go in there. They have to give him that. Now, I really personally don't see it, but we'll see what happens. But this is what we're talking about. There should be a criteria, just like we talk about quarterbacks. But let's go to running backs. The criteria of running backs of who's this, because I see a lot of guys have these podcasts and this and that and that. And that's fine. That's fine. You have a right to have that. Jim Brown is a criteria from the 60s, late 50s, early 60s. O.J. Simpson is another criteria for the 70s. 80s criteria, 70s, 80s, you can throw in Walter Payton and whatnot. Somebody like that of Eric Dickerson. Then you have Emmitt Smith. Then you have that of Barry Sanders and whatnot. Those are first ballot Hall of Famers guys. What I'm talking about. I remember I was talking to a frat brother about one time. He's like, oh, Dickerson's not going to the first round. I said, you out of your fucking mind, bro. Look at the stats. But again, that was a Redskins fan having a hard on and losing his mind. I said, look at the football aspect of it. Okay? Look at the football aspect of it. And that's what I'm talking about. So when we start speaking about that of somebody like a Matthew Stafford, he has his numbers. That's no question. That's no question. But if we go back here, we're going to sit back and just throw away his fucking years in Detroit. That's not his fault. Mind you, it just so happens that's just how it is. That's going to have to count. 74 and 90. Now he's been with the Rams with Sean McVay. He is 42 and 25, and he's won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl and that of a NFC Championship game. The point that I'm making is that these guys at a certain time, when we're talking about that of Matthew Stafford, whether it was Eli Manning, whether it was Dan Fouts, whether it's Patrick Mahomes. And I'm using those guys as an example because those are guys that was at those, because Fouts was doing things that of Matthew Stafford was only doing here in the last couple of so years because of the way the game is played. Fouts played at a time when it was like, yo, man, we can just throw your goddamn receiver up in the goddamn bleachers if we want to. Therein lies the difference. And we already know what Mahomes did. So, yeah, Matthew Stafford, if he wins, because there's not too many quarterbacks that has one Super Bowl victory, whether it was Doug Williams, whether it was Jim McMahon, whether it was Mark Rippon, no. You gotta still put up numbers. The reason why Dan Fouts is in the Super Bowl is based upon what he did as a player. Look at his stats. Look at that. 4,082, 24, 4,715, 4,802. He led the league 4 years in a fucking row. Dan Fouts was 86 and 84. He's 2 games over 500 because those Chief teams were pitiful in that of the early to mid 70s. It wasn't until the latter part of the 70s where they did what they did. So, yeah, I will say this here. I'll say this. Matthew Stafford, if he wins his second Super Bowl, he has to be considered for the Hall of Fame. He has to be considered for the Hall of Fame and what he has done and whatnot, and you have to give him that. And possibly a second to third ballot Hall of Famer. That's my take on Matthew Stafford. Hell of a quarterback. He's put up a lot of nice numbers, but you got to still deal with Detroit. People talk about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson won as soon as he started coming in the league. So, again, like I said this time and time again, with these guys. It's like, yo, you have to get to a particular point where you are winning. So, if Matthew Stafford wins again, second ballot Hall of Famer. Eli's going to go in second or third ballot because he won and he slayed the dragon. Okay? So, yeah, if Matthew Stafford wins another Super Bowl, yes, got to put him in the Hall of Fame. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. Okay? I'll probably come back a little bit later on, hit y'all with a little stuff here and there. And you guys have a good one. And I'll probably come back with some picks. You guys have a good one.